Hello and welcome to The Content Bite, a podcast for freelancers who use their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a freelance journalist, copywriter, and content producer. I'm also the founder of Rachel's List, a jobs board and community for Aussie writers and other creatives.
Hello, and I'm Lynn Testoni. I'm a journalist and a content writer as well, and Rachel and I are your weekly co-hosts, and every week we're bringing you all kinds of tips, ideas, and some fabulous guests to help you make the most of your freelance business.
Hello, Lynn. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I think it's our second episode for the year, isn't it, Lynn? And I'm doing this from a hotel down on the south coast, which is quite nice. But yeah, he's hoping the Wi-Fi holds up.
Oh, living the dream, Rach. We're all about
really.
being digital nomads. Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, it's
right.
so nice to be back, and it's lovely to be right into the whole new year. And I'm so excited about the podcast this year because we've had some real growth in our audience, which is fantastic. We've got great guests lined up, including, I think, a really fascinating person this week.
Yeah, we have Laura Simpson joining us this week. I'm just going to read a little bit of info about Laura before we get her in the hot seat. Laura Simpson is the Digital Director of Mass Food at News Corp Australia, working across taste.com.au and Australia's Best Recipes, where she oversees digital content commissioning, social media, and content strategy. She's worked in media for 20 years, starting out as a newspaper reporter, then a news editor, before making the jump to digital back in 2005. And Laura worked for Microsoft for 6 years, leading the homepage and news team for MSN UK. And since moving to Australia in 2011, she's worked in various digital media and data-led content roles, including content and comms director for Pure Profile. I know Pure Profile, a data research and programmatic company based in Sydney. She loves food, data, words, and discovering new health trends, but not always in that order. Welcome, Laura.
Welcome, Laura. It's so great to have you join us.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's lovely to have you. We've worked in the same office and I've seen you in action. So I know you are very clever, especially with data. And so one of the things we wanted to talk to you about is I know that you guys are really sort of analytics heavy and I'd love you to share about how analytics feeds into the content that taste.com.au creates.
Yeah, sure. So thank you for saying that. I mean, I'm very lucky to have a very small but very passionate team. And so they love data almost as much as they love food. And we just love geeking out on that kind of thing. When it comes to data, I don't think we can underestimate how important data has been to what we do on Taste. As an example, we probably look at our various data streams constantly. So someone on the team, I would say probably every few minutes is looking at one source of data or another. So that could be like real-time site analytics, or it could be social analytics, or it could be Google Search Console or Google Trends.
Wow.
Yeah, we usually split it up into two different sources. So we look at internal, which is what people are doing on our site at any given time, plus external, which is our competitors and how our content's performing on social versus other people. And then we feed all the insights back into everything we do. So we spend a lot of time on reporting, but I kind of think it's worth it for the payback that we get.
Fantastic.
Wow. Are you guys really unusual in that you take that tact, or is that something that all your competitors are doing too, like tracking that data and making decisions based on that?
I mean, I think everyone is doing it to a greater or lesser extent these days. I think one of the advantages we have on Taste is that we have so much search data internally. So obviously everyone will be looking at Google Trends. They'll probably be looking at some kind of keyword monitoring tool. But on Taste, we have tens of millions of searches internally on our own search tool. So that's a really rich source of data that we can tap into. And we look at that daily, weekly, monthly, and just monitor the trends across the year.
Mm-hmm. Is it your content mainly informed by data, or is some of it kind of a bit of gut feel as well in there?
I would say it's a bit of both. I mean, I think you kind of need gut feel in order to create the content in the first place, which then sets in motion your insights strategy. And I think as well, life would be quite boring if everything was data led, because I don't know how you feel, but if I look up a search term on Google, I land on a page and you can tell if that page has been written with SEO in mind, and it can be a bit robotic, and then I just bounce. So I think you need a bit of gut feel to understand what's going to hook people into that content, even if you've used the data to inform the themes and the structure of the content.
Well, that's a bit reassuring, because we want, I guess, our listeners who are mostly writers want to know that good content is not created by robots, but created by people with, all good writers. So that's quite nice. Have you seen some big changes in the way people consume recipes and even websites in the past 2 years, perhaps because of the pandemic?
Yeah, 100%. I think we were resting on our laurels a bit to a certain extent, because we thought we'd done so much work in mapping out trends across the year, and we'd even managed to get to a point where each week we knew what would probably be trending. And then the pandemic happened, and then it just challenged all the patterns and the norms that we took for granted. So we could predict with accuracy pre-pandemic, oh, this ingredient's going to be popular at this time of year, and then it just changed. And it's been good, and it's been an amazing challenge, but we've learned a lot of new things along the way, and I think it's made us more responsive and a bit more nimble in terms of just reacting to the trends. Because I think at the beginning of the pandemic, we saw things playing out whereby there were shortages in the shops, and you could see in our search data, people were searching for things like risoni, which is a pasta that was the only pasta left on the shelves, and people didn't know what to do with it. So we were like, okay, quick, let's get some risoni content. Let's see what we can do here. And people were searching for things like how to make bread without yeast, which then that became, I think, the precursor to the sourdough phenomenon, which was massive during lockdown. So I think that was great to see, and I think it was good because it made us think in different boxes that we perhaps hadn't thought in before.
Wow.
I think that maybe the sourdough thing surprised everybody. Do you think?
It's not happening now. Sourdough surprised us.
We're all over it. We've gone back to the bakery.
Oh, that's so funny. It's interesting, isn't it, how things change? And that's quite exciting though. Do you think people are cooking more?
Yes, definitely. People were at the start of the pandemic in 2020, people were cooking more, and we looked at all our site data and also the Google Analytics data and also Google Trends. If you look at Google Trends for the word recipe, you'll see it actually pretty much mirrors the pandemic lockdowns as well.
Oh, wow.
Which is interesting. I think one of the challenges is catering for the different needs that emerged during the pandemic, because you're right, there was a lot of baking happening in 2020, but then I think people didn't realize how long this was going to be lasting for. So then in 2021, when the novelty wore off, people were still cooking, but then the fatigue had set in. So they were wanting easy recipes. So they were baking just 5 ingredient cakes and anything in an air fryer.
Yeah, the air fryer. I've yet to get one, but I'm inching towards it.
You should do it.
I should do it. I know I will. Well, taste is such a leader, obviously in the category. Do you find there's a lot of pressure, on your team to stay on top and keep innovating? You can never sort of drop that, I suppose.
Yeah, I would agree with that to a certain. Yeah, I would. I think one of the advantages that we had when we launched 15 years ago was that we had a bit of a first mover advantage, and that the food landscape wasn't anywhere near as competitive as it is now. So we had lots and lots of strong recipe content at the time when people were just starting to cook from recipes online.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I guess we've got a bit of a flywheel effect in that we've got lots of search momentum, but because it's more competitive and Australia is only a certain size market, that means we have to be reaching into the niches. It's almost like panning for gold, looking for new niches that perhaps we hadn't covered before, to keep us maintaining that search position and to keep our search footprint as large as it can be. But then there's also optimizing other channels, social, our newsletter. So it's the amount of channels and the amount of sources of traffic that we're trying to optimize now is increased, which is a challenge, but also exciting at the same time.
Because taste is huge. The numbers that you have are just amazing, off the chart. So how many users do you have once every month? What are you? It's
about our official Nielsen number was last month, it was 4.1 million UA, which makes us the biggest Australian food site. And also we have Australia's Best Recipes, which is a site that we work across as well, which is number 2. So between the two of them, we've got a lot of data we can pull on. which is super useful.
So what about these emerging trends? Like, sort of how do you handle new topics, and when do you start including them in a content strategy? Is there a tipping point that where maybe you go, oh, like air fryers, for example?
Yes, air fryer we jumped on fairly quickly because we could see it rising quite, the numbers were small, but you could see they were quite steep. So as soon as we think if it's a long-term trend, so when something starts rising, we'll look at it and we'll kind of ask ourselves internally what's causing the rise. So for instance, the air fryer thing really started to take off once Kmart had launched a really very competitively priced air fryer, and then everyone started to want to get in on the air fryer act. So we started creating a lot of content in that area. But then there'll be things like dishes may start trending, and we'll look at that and it doesn't seem quite right, and it could be because it's appeared on MasterChef, or a celebrity chef has cooked it. So depending on what we think the size of the opportunity is will depend on how much investment we make in something. Keto, for instance, that was bubbling away for a while, and my husband was even listening to a podcast about keto, and he was saying, oh, you should do something on keto, and I was like, oh, it sounds a bit scientific, I'm not sure. And then as soon as we started to see keto searches rising on our own internal searches, we knew that we had to jump on it. And because keto is quite scientific, and you want to do it correctly, and you create content that isn't just trying to rank for the keyword, but we're not actually answering the intent of the user. So we had to spend time getting our nutritionists to reanalyze lots of recipes to help us create the content, because we wanted to make sure that if we did create that kind of content, we were doing it in the right way and it was scientifically backed as well.
Wow, it must be so interesting sitting in your team meetings. Does everyone just talk about what they're cooking, and it takes ages to actually crack on with any work because you're all just swapping recipes and going, I tried this last night.
Yeah, sometimes. I think one of the things we miss most about working from home is that we don't get the people bringing in their cooking anymore. It's just a real shame.
Yeah, those COVID kilos. Well, you've got them happening at home now instead of in the office.
Yeah, you can't actually, if you do cook something at home, you can't share it among any of your colleagues anymore, so you end up eating it yourself, which is
there always a cake in your office or something?
Always a cake. Usually it's the cakes.
Yeah, and they're usually some of those amazing over-the-top sort of cakes that Michelle creates for the cover of Taste. And she'd have a few versions, wouldn't she, going sort of different options, and you'd taste them all.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing like that with Michelle bringing us in. And she used to, eventually we wouldn't be able to eat them all, so she would farm them out and send them back to the studio or send them to other people in the building.
Oh my God.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that would be a problem for me. Well, look, I want to ask you something that I think a lot of our audience probably thinks about and, wants to train in and wants to know more about. And you're sort of at the coalface of how SEO works and how quickly it works. Can you talk to us about what you've seen in terms of how fast, SEO can start trending, how fast you can get keywords popping up?
In terms of ranking, so us ranking for certain keywords, the short answer is it varies quite a lot. If it's an area where we have lots of existing topical authority, sometimes it can take a week or two for us to see our content appear in the top search results, sometimes even less. So air fryer, we mentioned, we did an experiment before Christmas to see how quickly we could rank with some new air fryer content, and it was a few days, and then by the end of a couple of weeks, we were already in some of the top results in the rich snippet carousel. But then when we were trying to build authority in keto, which was something a bit new for us, it took a bit longer, and the investment in the content was greater because we wanted to get it right. And there were lots and lots of different individual phrases that people were looking for in conjunction with keto. So that probably took longer. And that's the one it's a bit more changeable because lots and lots of these niche keto blogs are coming in, and they probably, because they just focus on keto, they've got quite high topical authority in that area. So we're constantly having to optimize our content so we still rank for those phrases.
I suppose from a freelance perspective, like someone running a freelance business, there is definitely something in that blogging regularly and building your authority regularly, because the more that you have a base of content, I suppose you can just build on that rather than just doing it once every 6 months.
100%. Yeah. And I think the mistake sometimes people make is is putting some content out there and then not leaving it for long enough to see if it works. Because I think every piece of content, even if it's not getting lots and lots of views, it's a data point for you. So
Yeah.
once you've got a good bank of content, even if you've got 10, 20 blogs or articles, you can learn stuff from those articles. You can look at the top performing one and almost forensically analyze it to see what it is about that piece of content that's making you successful for that term, or that's resonating well on social. So I think in order to get the data, you need to just experiment to start off with.
Oh,
I think so many of us don't do that, do we, Lynn? We kind of just put the content out there and then don't
hope for the
do
best.
The metrics.
Yeah, maybe. Because I've been in the taste.com.au offices and it's pretty overwhelming. You've got screens everywhere tracking the site statistics in real time. Is it hard not to be too reactive, or, sort of say, oh my God, this is doing really well. Oh,
we've got to change the headline.
Meghan Markle has done this. Let's try and, do whatever.
Yeah, I think there's a danger in that for sure.
Yeah.
And I think there would be cases where, again, that's where we go back to the team and just say, why do we think this is trending? Is it like a quick fire thing that's just going to kind of fizzle out? Or is it something that we think is worth the investment? And certain things, we also try and make our own trend as well. So we might see, the feta pasta trend, which was on TikTok, because some of these TikTok trends are quite short-lived. But the beauty of TikTok is that things tend to last a little bit longer on that as a social platform than they do maybe on other social platforms. So with the feta pasta one, we tried it out ourselves. Foodies created a slightly different version. So we've kind of taken a trend but made it our own as well. So I think overlaying different trends and seeing what your take on something could be a way of responding to the trend, but also giving it a bit more longevity.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I'm exhausted by all that, the thought, all the constant thought.
I think you definitely have to have that nerdy kind of love of data. And I definitely have that, but I think I'm a dip in and dip out of the data person, because you almost need to get really bogged down in it to start tracking it. And then you have to keep tracking it. And sometimes I get busy with other things and I get distracted. I mean, we talked a bit about freelancers, being on top of that. So is there a simple way that you think freelancers can be on top of those metrics in order to grow their own businesses? Is there a way that they could do that, or a tool they could use?
The key is probably just because there are so many tools you could use.
Yes.
It's probably picking what you want to track and picking the tools that you want to use. So I think if you're, say, a freelancer trying to attract new business through your own blog, I would probably start fairly small. And I mean, Google itself is one of the best tools available, because even if you're just looking at Google Trends and Google itself at a very basic level, you can see from Google Trends that's the terms that might be trending for a particular phrase that you're looking at. But then you can also look at Google search results, type it in, look at the people who are the top performers for that term, and you'll find common themes for that term. And then the key is looking at what they're doing, incorporating some of the things that make them successful, and then just doing it a bit better and just adding on extra layers and making sure that all the questions that people are asking in conjunction with those terms that you're answering as well, and then optimizing that piece of content over time so that when intent shifts slightly, that you're still answering the queries around that term.
Good advice.
Wow. Because do you think that freelancers who understand Google Analytics, and Yoast is another one, I don't know if you use that because you're sort of WordPress based, aren't you?
Yeah, well, WordPress too.
Yes. And Search Console. Do you think people that can use that, they do better as freelancers because they can shape their approach to attracting clients, or do you think it makes them more employable?
Yes, it all depends on what they're being employed to do. For us, we like that kind of experience. That would be great. And I think if you're a freelancer doing a lot of digital work and you are, say, one of the assignments you were given is to help another business drive their own traffic or create a content strategy, then I think having that data and analytics experience is really, really valuable.
Yeah.
Where can you get that experience if you don't have it or you want to kind of upskill and go deeper into it? Is there any way that you'd suggest?
LinkedIn Learning is pretty good. I think there are other courses that you can do through people like General Assembly. I mean, we train people as well. Google has some great resources on Think with Google, which is always interesting to read. And I think even YouTube, you can see people, so many of the SEO experts are on YouTube. And people like Neil Patel, who has an amazing newsletter that you can subscribe to, and he's got his own tool, Uber Suggest, which is brilliant to use. We use that quite a lot, and it's got a browser plugin that you can use, so that when you're typing in keywords, I use that one a lot to analyze, then it shows you the top other related phrases for that term. So that's another good one. And I think it's just trial and error as well, to a certain extent. So once you've tried something and you then look at your analytics, you can then create more similar content, and then just seeing how it resonates, and then utilizing more analytics, and then seeing how it resonates again.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Uber Suggest, actually. I remember when that came out. It's just such a clean interface and really easy to use. Obviously, things have moved on a lot for writers, and, you know, we talked about the kind of skills that they need. Is there anything that's really important for freelancers who might want to work for Taste or other, you know, large mass media websites? Are there any traits that you really look for when hiring people?
As we mentioned before, I think that the age of the writer is definitely not dead. So we still want great writers who can write clearly, concisely, who can sell the content well. But I think there's another layer of being able to look at the data and being able to come up with interpret that data and come up with ideas based on it that aren't too crazy. And I think also a willingness to work across different platforms. So things that sometimes we're writing for SEO that may need to be slightly tweaked for social, and then obviously we'll need to tweak them slightly again for social video. So I think there's a certain level of adaptability that's required these days for people to jump between formats and jump between programs quite quickly.
That is interesting.
Yeah, you kind of need that really good long form content writing skill, but you also need the short forms to be able to translate that quickly into all the other formats and metadata and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think previously you'd have, those would be different roles. You'd have a person who'd be writing, and you'd have your sub who'd be subbing, and then different people would be writing the headline. But nowadays we generally have, our food team is separate, which makes sense because they're the people in the kitchens creating the food. But all the insights that are fed to the food team come from our team, and they will do everything from even come up with the recipe titles, even come up with adjectives within recipe titles based on data and ingredients that should probably be included. And with everything from, and then what's in the description, what's in the metadata. So they tend to be more all-rounders, our producers these days.
I guess digital by its very nature is always evolving. So you'd be doing different things, different skills than maybe 2 or 5 years, or let alone 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think video is definitely one of the big skills that all the team are really embracing. Like, you have to hand it to them. They're all embracing video at the moment. Whereas most of us, when we first started out as journalists, with just words, now we're video for everything.
You must sometimes pinch yourself and think, you know, I just used to write a story, and now I'm like, look, you're just knee deep in all this other stuff that you couldn't have even imagined 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think I remember when I first saw a spreadsheet when I was at high school, I told my maths teacher I was never going to need to use it. And now I'm just like, oh, every day.
Oh, yes.
You ate your words.
Yes, sad, isn't it? Oh,
gosh.
So interesting. Are there other things that you think that are really good for people wanting to be part of that digital landscape that we should mention?
Other skills, I would say, not to fear what you don't know is probably a good skill.
Yeah.
Because we're not expecting people when they come in to know everything about the platforms or about the content that they're working with. I think it's just a willingness to get stuck in, and that's not necessarily a Gen Z thing, or I think it's just innate in the person. I think if the person is really willing to learn new things, and that can be across the board. I think that's probably one of the biggest skills to have these days.
Yeah.
What type of freelancers do you tend to look for at Taste?
It varies. Where I am, I tend to have producers, a lot of producers, but then we also have some of the food team, obviously, so recipe developers, people who can take some of this data that we come up with and turn it into an actual physical recipe that works is such an amazing skill. And not one that I have. And I hats off to them, because that takes a lot of work, and they're in the kitchens every day, just making things work and refining and cooking it and testing it again and cooking it and testing it again.
Wow.
So we have a lot of those, but then we have producers who are the people who, again, are looking at the data and they're working at what the trends might be, and just they're even doing things from looking at visual cues, like on social, we're noticing images that are like shot like this are doing well, so they're briefing the shoot teams. So we have probably the biggest need at the moment is digital producers and video editors, stroke producers, as well as the food people, the food team.
Yeah. Wow, how fascinating. So, it's really heartening as well to see, someone like you, Laura, who's gone from, very much a journalism background into doing what you do. And it shows, there is life after coming from that
beyond
side
print.
Thinking, well, I mean, yeah, in a way. I mean, we still all love, being writers and all of that. But I guess it's a mindset thing, isn't it? You really have to think, well, what can I do next? And how do I get to that point? And what do I need to learn to get to that point and continue evolving my career and that sort of thing? And it's really great to see, someone like you who's done that really successfully and loves, what you do, as I get the sense you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, we're almost not digital and print anymore. I feel like we're all one team, and our digital insights feed into print. In print, for example, we even crowdsourced some of our recipes in our latest Christmas issue by running a TikTok live and asking users what ingredients we should use next. And that was someone who was from the print team came up with that idea, and they're really embracing it too. So I think everyone is on this data journey, no matter what their background. So I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, I love that. Gosh, thank you so much for talking to us today and sharing all your knowledge. I think it's going to be really helpful, don't you, Lynn, for all our
for sure. I think it's
listeners?
really inspiring and really fascinating. And I guess it's also nice to know, well, maybe it's reassuring, you guys work really hard. So yes, you're quite successful, but it's sort of good to know that it's not just, it's an accident. You guys work hard at it. It's not just, so that's
but also
quite good.
like, just getting that sense of creating content in that constantly changing digital world is something that, we all
quite
think
exciting.
about. And it is exciting. It's been fascinating actually hearing a bit more about what you do, because it's not something that we typically do as freelancers, is it? It's really the other side of the fence. So
it's fascinating. Oh, thank you so much, Laura, for being our guest this week. We'll put all the details of how to connect with you and obviously the Taste and the Taste team in the show notes. But tell us where people can find you via Taste, I assume.
Yep. Go to taste.com.au if you want to get the latest data-led recipes, or find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thanks again. And thanks for listening, everybody. We will be back next week, I think.
Yeah, we will. Thank you so much. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.